Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the RK Football Podcast. We're back for another week. I'm Carl Dixon, joined by Matt Thorney, David Newman, and Stuart Irvine. Before we start, everyone, I'd like to start with a quick statement that I've prepared with my advisors on behalf of the podcast. I'd like to take this time to discuss an incident that happened on this podcast a few weeks ago. Something unsavoury and unjust took place that we deeply regret as a podcast. We have brought our reputation into disrepute, and we will not allow this to happen again. We all agree Matt Thorney should never win a quiz. That is never allowed. And on behalf of all at RK Football Podcast, we would like to sincerely, deeply apologise to everybody listening that happened.
I'm not apologising.
But we will come back stronger. We will come back. We will rebuild. We will learn from this mistake. And moving on.
Sorry, Carl, not to contradict, but just going by your reaction, I sincerely hope that Matt Thorney wins every single quiz, wins every tournament from now until the end of time.
I am going to make this sincere promise that he will not win the next one.
That's up to you, baby. That's up to you.
Well, bring it on. I've been away for a few weeks. I'd also like to acknowledge the claims on a recent episode that because I lost the quiz, I disappeared and wouldn't come on the podcast anymore. Excuse me. I just couldn't look at Matt Thorney's face again. That was all. Sorry.
Now that you are looking at it again, Carl, how do you feel?
A little bit queasy, but that's just usual. Right, let's get going into it. It's been a big week. Stu, talking of queasy, how are you feeling?
I was better last week than I was this week. I give you that. It's.
I bet you were.
Oh Jesus. It's started off. Yeah, it's not gone great. I gotta be honest. It's been going so well, and then 1 week out of the Champions League, and then we lose the League Cup final to Newcastle, and with the Newcastle one, we kind of deserve to win it.
Let's talk about Champions League first, because I just want to acknowledge something. I don't think anybody at the start of the season said that Aston Villa will go further in the Champions League than Liverpool this year, but that has happened. So come on.
Just had to slip it in there. Bloody hell.
If we beat PSG over 2 legs, in theory, we are the best team in England.
Yeah, well, that won't happen, mate. So don't
Proven
worry.
fact. So proven fact.
Okay.
I think we should also, before we really get into the League Cup, we should practice this. After 3, we're going to go away the lads, right? Is that how they say it?
No.
Nobody else. I'll be honest, I haven't seen a whole lot of the football of the weekend. It's been a busy weekend, but I am, as a fan of a non-traditional top 6 team, let's say, I am pleased that Newcastle have won it. It's nice to see a different team win a championship. I mean, if Liverpool weren't in the final, I know Stu would be saying, if it was Newcastle versus Chelsea or Arsenal, he'd be going, yeah, it's really cool that Newcastle have won. So I'm sure he's bitter at the moment.
Yeah, to be you.
Sort of. It's a weird feeling because it's like we can't obviously watch. I watched it, and it's like you can when you don't play as well. We played really bad in the final. We can kind of like Newcastle just deserved to win it, but I was. It's like I didn't feel like totally gutted. It's like, example, if we lost it to like Man United or Chelsea, yes, I'll be probably more devastated. But because it's Newcastle, it's like it hurt. It sucks, but as you guys allude to in another couple of podcasts, like, let them have this one, and I'm like, yeah, okay, it's been 70 years, let them have a trophy.
It just goes to show how good a season Liverpool are having, where they're at the stage where they can actually throw away trophies and they can still think, well, we've still got the league. It doesn't really matter.
True, yeah. I'll tell you one thing though. I saw a stat earlier and I couldn't believe this. So Eddie Howe is the first English manager to win a trophy since Harry Redknapp in 2008. But also this threw me completely. Eddie Howe's also Harry Redknapp's first signing when he took over at Portsmouth. I was like, that is
crazy.
That is
Crazy how it
That's
works.
a good one.
It's. I mean, I'm glad you mentioned Eddie Howe because it's really nice for him as well because he is the epitome of what an English manager should be in the current football pyramid system. He started with Bournemouth in, I want to say League Two, but it could have been even lower to be honest. But I want to say League Two.
I think League Two.
And they worked their way up, and he worked his way up. And obviously, he's ended up with a cushy job at Newcastle, and he's done terrific at Newcastle. The sky is the limit for Eddie Howe, and it's great to see an English manager doing it at the top. As you say, we haven't seen. I don't think you can really count the Harry Redknapp one in a way. I mean, you can, but like in terms of the progression of a career, Harry Redknapp was at the back end of his career. Eddie Howe's, it feels like the future is still there for him. He looks like a manager that can go and win league titles and win Champions Leagues if it goes the right way for him, obviously.
Yeah, and with the funds at his disposal with the Newcastle owners as well. I mean, English managers and the top players so few and far between. So when they do, if they do the odd time win a trophy, very, very rarely. But Eddie Howe's now won a trophy with Newcastle, and if you can get them into the top four, you'd have to say it's probably one of the most successful seasons of an English manager for a top flight team. Harry Redknapp would obviously be up there as well. But like I said, English managers are so thin on the ground that to the point where an English manager isn't even in charge of the England team anymore. And we'll talk about that later, obviously. But yeah, it's a great achievement for Eddie Howe, and certainly up there is probably one of the most successful seasons for an English manager at a top flight team for sure.
Do you think that as well with Eddie Howe being the start of the season they had? If someone said that to them at that point, Eddie Howe is going to win you the League Cup, and you're going to be on the verge of qualifying for Champions League through league position as well, I think they would have probably turned around and gone, no, surely not. Like because they were terrible.
I don't know. You know, I don't think we should be that surprised by this because you're right. Newcastle had a bad year last year, but Newcastle were in the Champions League last year with a squad that wasn't ready for it.
No, but I'm talking about the start of this season. But
it affected everything, and then it's confidence going into the new season. If you'd have told me in the summer that Newcastle would have a strong year, I would have believed it because it just felt like they'd got back on track a little bit. And yes, they didn't make the start they wanted to make. I understand that, but you knew it was about to kick in. And I mean, no one expected Isak to be arguably. I mean, you've got Haaland, but apart from Haaland, the best striker in England by some distance.
Keeping hold of him was a like big deal. That's a big, and if they get European football, which now it looks like they definitely will, it's a matter of like, will they keep hold of him if they only get the Conference League sort of thing? But like I said in previous episodes, why would you leave now?
I think it's building around him now as well. That's the key. I mean, when they got the Champions League in the first place, particularly with the ownership changes that were going on and stuff like that, they never really was able to expand the squad enough to be able to fight on all fronts. They need to do that now. They need to build. At the moment they've got Isak as a world beater, 100%. You could probably put Bruno Guimaraes in there as well as a world beater. Tonali has the potential to be a world beater. I don't think we've seen it consistently yet, but we've seen glimpses, definitely. I get that. But then the rest of them, you put maybe Anthony Gordon in there who has potential as well. But the rest of them I mean, it's great that Dan Burns got his cup final goal and he's in the squad. I wouldn't say Botman's like. I'm talking these players that are going to walk in.
Improve on people like Botman for sure. Yeah.
Do you think that Boatman isn't going to be like a player that could progress into a really good player then?
He absolutely could be. He absolutely could be.
Did he win the league with Lille that year that they won it in Ligue 1?
How integral a part was he in that team though? I don't know.
I think he was a starter.
No, he was, and absolutely. I'm not saying he's not a good player. I'm just talking about the players that are going to take Newcastle from 4th, 5th, or 6th to second.
Isak's the big player.
Definitely.
He's their most important player, and keeping him. And I think at this point, people are obviously talking about the season that he's having. The issue is obviously whether or not they can keep him at the club. But I think it's looking good now. Where you mentioned European football there, Matthew. If they can get European football, it's a great club to be at when you're at the top. When you're banging in goals. I mean, because you just adored. But it's a one club town. Well, it's sort of with Sunderland. But I mean, like it should be. Players are adored there. Like so you think about like the history of strikers that they've had at that club, and just kind of the stadium and everything, and the fact that their owners that they can offer them all the money in the world to keep them there. So if someone like Real Madrid or United or whoever else came calling, that the money aspect might not be an issue. So I think it looks fairly promising that he could possibly stay at least one more season.
It's amazing for the fans as well, really. I mean, Newcastle fans are up there with one of the most passionate fan bases.
That's what I mean. Yeah, and if you can get someone like that, I mean, he'll just be absolute. I mean, he already is adored there. He's a hero figure to them. So why would you want to move away from that to
I mean, it depends how it goes. I mean, you're talking if a Barcelona or a Real Madrid or a Bayern or whatever, they don't really need a striker at the minute, but you never know how things will go in the future. But if Newcastle finish in the top four, I can't see him going anywhere. 100%.
A lot of Premier League teams could use it. Top 16.
Yeah, but I can't.
I
see
would
going Newcastle to Arsenal. I'll be honest. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But yeah, brilliant for Newcastle. My favourite moment, by the way, and you might have seen this trending on social media, is the commentator who was purely working for CBS that day, the American station, trying to explain who Ant and Dec were to American audiences. And it was honestly, it's brilliant. And you can see him explaining it in a way, and he's like, they have no idea who. And it never struck me before that they know, like Ant and Dec. People don't know who they are in America.
Does that surprise you at all in the least?
I mean, it's quite sad that they are now known as Newcastle's most famous fans, but not everyone can have Tom Hanks, so it's all good.
Yeah.
There was one thing, and I did see it this morning, and it was Alan Shearer on Twitter. He was absolutely buzzing when they won.
I don't blame him because he's watching people do what he should have done in the first place, and that's win a trophy.
Exactly.
But yeah, brilliant for Newcastle. Anything else we want to say in the League Cup final, or should we put Stuart at his misery?
Well, there was actually one thing I did actually want to say. It was about the European qualification, how it's affected it now, because there is a chance 11 teams could qualify for Europe next season. I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot has to happen, but there is a chance that I think at the moment Brentford is sitting 11th. They could be in Europe just by finishing 11th. If a lot has to happen, do you want me to explain it? Because I did write it down.
Go for it.
Yeah. So, Liverpool, Arsenal, Nottingham Forest, and Chelsea, Man City, have to finish in the top four, which can happen.
Okay.
Newcastle qualify for the league.
Yeah.
Yeah, in 5th. And then Brighton qualify for the Europa League in 6th place. Bournemouth finish 7th and win the FA Cup, meaning their place is handed down in the Europa League. Chelsea finish 8th.
Are we missing
qualify?
Yeah.
Hang on. You're gonna like it.
Well, he's in.
Chelsea finish 8th and qualify for the Europa League by winning the Conference League. Aston Villa finish 9th but win the Champions League and qualify in the Champions League too, meaning their place is then dropped. And Man United or Spurs finish 10th and qualify for the Champions League by winning the Europa League. As a result, if all of that happened, 11th place would then get Champions League.
I'd say if that was to happen, I'd say 7 out of those 11 teams wouldn't make it past the bloody group stage next year. I mean, it's just not happening.
Yeah, but imagine that group stage next year with 11. So half of the league are English. What's going on here?
How boring would it be though if you got an all-English Champions League final and an all-English Europa League final and an all-English Conference League final? And just like. It's like what's like another weekend in the Premier League? Like, oh God.
I mean, look, I'd love Villa to win the Champions League, but I'll say this: if Villa win the Champions League, I will come on this podcast and admit that Matt Down is the smartest of us all.
Right.
That's
I
not
like
happened
that.
now.
I like that. Come on, Villa. Come on, Villa.
If Villa do manage to get past PSG, who's their potential? What's the other match in that bracket?
I think
Real
Real Madrid.
Arsenal.
Oh, so it could be an Aston Villa Arsenal semi-final. Then.
I tell you what, we could beat Arsenal.
Yeah, but Arsenal aren't beating Real Madrid, so
No.
I do.
Well, there goes that then.
Not being exciting semi, though.
Sorry, Brentford. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's super interesting, but it's not going to happen. But I think there's a chance we see sort of top 8 get Europe this year, because when you look at the FA Cup's the key one, right? So Villa are in there, City are in there, Bournemouth are in there, and if any of those 3 win and finish in those top places, that's going to free up more spaces, isn't it? That's what we're saying. So I think there's a chance. There's absolutely a chance. Let's move on to the weekend's results a little bit. I think that's what we had next on our agenda. I'm just checking. Matt Thany writes us an agenda, everyone, so we have to make sure we abide by it. As let's talk about Forest first. I think Forest continue to win. I mean, Ipswich away is a fixture you would expect them to win with the role they've been on, but there's a difference between expecting to win and actually getting the job done, and that's what's keeping Forest in that top 4 still in March. No. They are continuing to do it, and you would have to say they are expected to finish in that top 4 now.
I think in terms of that result of the weekend, if they were going to beat any team, I think Ipswich are the only team in the top 4 tiers of the English League that are yet to have a win in 2025. So I think if I think it's a good away win, probably an expected one on their part. But yeah, closer and closer. Was it 9 games left for the top 4 there? I think for all of those teams. I think they can do it. I think there's 6 points clear between. I think they're 6 points clear of Manchester City, aren't they?
Yeah, 6 points clear of
City.
Yeah.
And they've got 2 wins on the bench now. Again, they're starting to pick up form again. So I think they can do it. I think that'd be obviously a massive achievement for them. But yeah, I think they'll do it, especially if teams dropping points.
That leads me on to City as well. I mean, we can join the 2 up here. City dropping points again, as you say. I mean, Brighton are a good team, and Brighton are in that hunt as well. Yeah. Not necessarily top 4, I would say, but maybe sort of 5 or 6, maybe. But yeah, Brighton in that hunt. So dropping points again, City. They've just had the weirdest season, City. I can't. They are the biggest question mark this year. Like, what has happened? What's in the water? Do you know what I mean? At the Etihad, that's making this happen, because it's bonkers the way they've dropped off.
I don't think you can put their success down to one player. You can't, because like De Bruyne was just brilliant, and Haaland were fantastic as well. So were their defenders as well. Rodri was phenomenal and has been a really big player in the side in their success as well. But it seemed like the moment Rodri got that injury, everyone else's game just dropped that little bit. I think what Rodri provided, and agree or disagree with this, he provided players around him with that freedom to be able to play the expansive way they do, because it's a bit like Arsenal when Odegaard got injured. That expansiveness just stopped for a little bit, and Saka couldn't play the way he wanted to play. I think exactly the same thing happened with De Bruyne, and that's why we don't see the best of him as well now.
Yeah. Obviously, Rodri getting injured was a massive blow for them early on in the season, but I don't think it's the main contributor. I think overall, I just think there's just a little bit of burnout, and just the fact that Pep wasn't really able to get as much out of the players as he was anymore. Jack Grealish not performing as well anymore. He hasn't really been performing at all at City since he got there, but this season in particular, he's been sort of conspicuous by his absence. And other players as well. The players he bought, Marmoush was a decent purchase in was it January?
I can see him being a good player.
He's done his best, hasn't he?
The work signings for this year, they were signings for the future again, and this is the thing. What I'd say about Rodri, and I'd love to see your thoughts on this. I wonder if it's a mentality thing, and I just wonder if maybe the City players have bought into all the attention when Rodri went injured, and it was, oh my God, what is City going to do in all the media and everything like that. And I just wonder if it just got in their heads. and they started to believe that they couldn't play without Rodri, because the players they've got, and I mean this in the nicest way to Rodri, who is one of the best defensive midfielders in the world, they shouldn't have dropped off like they have. If you'd have said they were in the title race, but they weren't running away with it because they're missing Rodri, I'd get it. But to be in 5th, 6th, and struggling to qualify for the European Champions League is it's just remarkable.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's an interesting. I just don't think Pep Guardiola, being the manager that he is, would allow players' heads to drop simply because one player is out injured.
I agree with that. Yeah,
I just don't think that would be the case. But I know what you mean, but I don't think that would be the leading cause of what's gone.
Could it be as simple as players have come towards their time at City as well? Like Kyle Walker, he moved on in January, went on loan to AC Milan. De Bruyne probably is not going to renew his contract in the summer. I mean, he's probably going to move on. Diaz is still a good defender.
I mean, Diaz is arguably in his prime. I mean, I get your point. Diaz is arguably in his prime, but then you look at the players that won them the league last year have not really turned up. Haaland to a point, but by his standards, he's had a bad year.
I think, though,
Foden's
part of that, though.
Foden as well. Oh, God,
Foden's the biggest, probably, drop off out of all of them. But, like, with Haaland, the only thing I will say with Haaland is that he is a player you have to tee him up. If you don't tee him up, he's not going to give you the goals. Whereas Harry Kane, you don't have to tee him up. He'll get you a goal. So it's not like that. He is a box player. Give the ball and he'll be in the back of the net.
Yeah, absolutely.
Service. I had the service this year.
Yeah.
So, but one player I think has actually let him down a lot in some ways is Ederson. In some ways as well. I don't think he's been good at all. Really.
None of them really have been. I mean, Haaland's gotten a fair amount of goals this season, but like Kyle said, he's not really. As far as his standards go, it's not been a disaster of a season, but it's not been as good a season as he can sort of achieve. But yeah, no one's really been an outstanding standout kind of player. But yeah, it's difficult to put it on one particular contributing factor, isn't it? It's just a whole bunch of things. I think it's burnout, it's injury, it's all sorts of things, you know. But they could. But having said all that, they could still finish in the top 4. You know, it's not all doom and gloom really for them. They're not going to win the league for a 5th season in a row. Oh no, God, what are we going to do?
Not like Spurs.
Still get a top 4 finish. It's not all. They're not going to get relegated. You know, like people thought United would. But you
know. I felt the bitterness through the screen there. That was just running through a couple of other results I don't really think we need to go into in terms of importance this week. Arsenal beating Chelsea was probably the most unimportant Arsenal-Chelsea game in a long time. Yeah. Fulham beat Tottenham. Great result for Fulham. Same old for Tottenham. Everton-West Ham, probably the most predictable draw of the lot. Everton playing West Ham, you'd have gone draw. That makes total sense. Bournemouth losing at home to Brentford was a bit of a surprise, but Brentford are very good away from home. Credit to Brentford.
Suddenly, like they were really good at home at the start of the season. Now they're really good away from home at the other end of the season.
Well, haven't they got like the best record or something? Like like Brentford have like out of all the teams that they've played, like they're unbeaten against them. Like Bournemouth, I think.
I want to give Brentford a little bit of credit actually for the progression that they're doing year on year, because all right, this year they're sort of, as Matt said, 11th. So arguably not really doing anything this year, right? But that's progression from last year. They're not in a relegation battle. They're just bumping up. So Thomas Frank's doing a great job. Bringing us on then to the relegation battle. It starts on Saturday with Wolves' pretty big win at St Mary's. Don't get me wrong, I know Southampton are beatable by everyone and his dad, but Wolves getting a win there really does change the outcome of this relegation battle. They now sit 7 points clear of Ipswich and Leicester. And I mean, what's that? Maths, 17 points clear of Southampton. So Saints are going to be relegated next time they play, I'd imagine, if they lose.
It's close to that. It's getting close to it, but I think that is, people talk about like the title's done. There's not really much to kind of get excited about anymore. The top 4, unless you're a fan of one of those teams, it's not really that important. I think what's exciting people the most these days is whether or not Southampton can get over the line of 11 points, and I think that's what everyone is looking at this weekend. But maybe fans of neutrals and mid-table teams, and that's probably the most important thing right now. And that's probably the most exciting thing to keep track of now, isn't it?
Well, I mean, let's look at their fixtures, right?
I think we did this partly last week. I mean, it's not looking good.
I missed last week.
I am still.
Well, hang on, because in 2 games' time they go to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So that is the 3 points they go.
They're gonna win there, aren't they? They're gonna win there. They only need 1 win. They only need 1 win or 3 draws, whatever. But like, we're gonna give them the bloody 3 points, aren't they? You just know it, and ruin the fun for all of us.
Absolutely. We've been ruining the fun for their own fans this season. So,
yeah.
But yeah, you look at it and you go, that's a win for Wolves that arguably does it for them. I mean, it's such a big gap at this stage of the season, a 9-point gap. 9 point gap. I said 7 earlier. 9-point gap. That's such a huge deficit, and it brings on to that question that Matt Thaney's put in our checklist. The gap between the Championship and the Premier League it's amazing, really, because you look at Ipswich in particular. I'm going to talk about Leicester and Southampton are dross, but Ipswich actually they look like a decent team in a lot of ways, but they just haven't really put it all together yet, and that's the difference.
Do you think they do?
I think there's bits. I think McKenna's a good head coach. I do think.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
I think you look at Delap. That's a Premier League centre forward. Delap is, to be fair, he's just not consistent enough yet. There's a couple of other players that you would put in there and around there, and you go, now there's a decent team there. And if you'd have said to me that they'd have gone on a run and got 2 or 3 wins together and finished in 13th, I wouldn't have been that surprised. But the difference in the Premier League is this. In the Championship, you can have 4 chances during the game, take 1 of them, win the game, right?
Yeah.
In the Premier League, you get 1 chance, and if you don't take it, you lose the game. In Ipswich's position, and that's kind of been the difference this year. That they've these sort of first halves they're having where they look good and they can put the pressure on and all this sort of stuff, and then they don't get a goal, and then all of a sudden they're defending, and it is the same old tricks of the Premier League is just another level. It is so intense compared to the Championship.
Yeah, as well as
but
that. I mean, sorry, Matt, go on.
Go on. No. Go on.
No, I was just going to say. I mean, that's just that's also just how it is with a lot of promoted sides when they come up as well. Is that can be the pattern of a lot of games, especially if they're playing a tougher opponent. Is that every point for them is so vital that they're terrified of losing, because if they lose, obviously they get no points. If they can eke out a 0-0 draw or whatever, it's massive, So quite often teams like Ipswich will pull back, sit in their own, defend from the edge of their own box really, and get out when they can. I think a lot of games that involve those teams kind of follow that pattern. But I know what you mean. But I think it's understandable sometimes because I mean, like I said, every point to them is vital.
I think though, for me, I was looking through the squads completely yesterday, all 3 of them, and Leicester is the only side when you looked at their teams that was like they've got Premier League experienced players. There's experience in that Leicester team because of
sure. I mean, yes, you're right. There's experience because they're all 40.
But yeah, but Ipswich and Southampton have. There's no one there that you sit there and go, they're the player that they've been there for. And a lot of teams over the years seem to buy those sort of players so they had that experience to know how to stay up.
But how much does that always work? How much does that always work, bringing in these players? I mean, it's arguably 50-50.
But everything's always 50-50 at the end of the day. It's like when you make any transfer, it's always 50-50. But it does seem like that there's this trend recently because all 3 promoted sides last season all went straight back down as well. So it seems to be the gap is getting bigger. I mean, the 2 in the top two in the Championship is Leeds and Sheffield
Burnley.
United.
Sheffield United, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I think in the playoffs you've got Sunderland, Coventry. I know
Blackburn.
is one of them. Blackburn.
Burnley, I think, up there
And
as well.
Burnley,
Third, I
yeah.
think, yeah.
yeah, Burnley. That's it. Yeah, like you can see maybe one of them staying up next season, but I mean, I think everyone would have thought at the beginning of the season Leicester would have been one of them to stay up.
Yeah.
I think, as we say, it comes to that ruthlessness to the Premier League. Played 29, obviously, won 3, which is really low, and it's second lowest in the league. Leicester have won more games than Ipswich, but Ipswich have drew 8 times. So you look at that and go, 5 of those games they will feel that they should have won.
Yeah,
right.
True.
And it's those 5 games which gives them 10 points, and all of a sudden they're out the bottom 3. And that is the difference, isn't it? That's what we're saying. It is brutal on a side like Ipswich, who have actually, like Matt said, people come to the Premier League and they go, right, I know we've played attacking football in the Championship, but it's not going to work. We're going to sit back, 5 at the back, etc. Get the results we need to get. And I'm not saying that's a bad way of doing it. Sam Allardyce made a career of it. It's brilliant, right? But Ipswich, to be fair to them, went, no, we're going to do this our way, and we're going to attack, and we're going to play. And at times they've looked brilliant. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And some of the performances, they've played
Especially
better than the likes of Tottenham or even United at times. They've played better than them. They just haven't got the result.
Somebody was similar at Burnley, wasn't he? When he came up with them, kind of sort of that militant sort of, no, we're going to play the same way as we did in the Championship. We're not going to alter our style of play whatsoever. They ended up going down in the end, but
Yeah, I do think that. Well, I think sometimes you hope that next season a promoted side will actually make a good go of it and hopefully stay up. That's what you want to see. So, because the thing is, you look at the 3 teams above the relegation zone. Wolves would have been one you would have said definitely is going to be involved in it.
Everton.
And then West Ham, Everton. It would have been funny to see Spurs in it. Why couldn't the Premier sides do better and just drag them into it? Why? Yeah. What an opportunity!
I think promoted sides. I think a big component of promoted sides staying up is their home form. They really need their home form to be solid. If they're losing consistently at home, they haven't a hope of staying up. They need to. That old cliche that I hate. Turn that stadium into a fortress. Kind of thing. That kind of. You know what I mean. I think home form is particularly important for sides when they come up.
Well, it was a bit like when Stoke come into the Premier League.
Yeah, they
such a hard ground to go to.
Of it being a tough, difficult place to go. That's almost what you want. As a promoted side.
Exactly. Like I'm still waiting before Messi retires for him to play at Stoke on a Tuesday night. Like I'm still waiting for that.
How great would it be, right, if he's near the end of his career and he goes, I want to play a testimonial. They put a testimonial on charity and he goes, Stoke, Britannia, Tuesday, December the 17th. It'll be amazing. I do want to clarify what you just said about the promoted side, where you said we hope one of them stays up. Sure, but not Leeds if they come up. Nope.
Yeah, I second that one.
Can't get on board with that. Right.
Fair enough.
Let's talk England. We've got obviously an international break this weekend, which is great. Ish.
So boring. So boring.
I quite like watching England play, to be fair, but I think it's the constant fixtures. I mean, what is it this weekend? I don't even know myself. I'm looking there. Is it qualifiers or is it Nations League or is it?
I think it's Nations League, isn't it?
No, it's qualifiers, isn't it?
Oh, is it? Oh, sorry, right.
No, it is. Yeah. World Cup qualifiers. So, Albania at Wembley, and then Latvia at Wembley. Yeah.
Right. He's going to win both of the games.
Yeah, he should win those.
It's just terrible, really.
So look, Thomas Tuchel's first game in charge. Let's talk about the squad then. It's actually changed on the day that we're filming this. So my first thought would have been, where's the Forest players? Where's Morgan Gibbs White? Well, he's in the squad now. So there you go.
Yes.
Oh. Okay, does that way.
Is he actually?
Yeah. He's been.
Wait,
he's been
was someone injured? Did someone drop out?
I don't know exactly who dropped out, but Morgan Gibbs-White is in. I'm looking.
Wouldn't surprise me if it was Cole
Right.
Palmer because he was injured against Arsenal yesterday.
Oh, that's yeah. You might be right. Yeah, well, that's good because that was a glaring omission. I don't know how he didn't make it into the team, but yeah, well, that's good for him anyway.
Yeah, thank God. He's been so good all season, and it's like, give him the reward, like Dan Burn.
Yeah, the most deserving English player to get into the England team.
So it doesn't actually say anything about Palmer not being in the squad. It just said he's been added to the squad. So I don't know what that exactly means.
Bellingham's injured.
Protesting.
Is Bellingham injured?
Bellingham was in the squad. So that, to be fair to the England media team, they are very good at the behind the scenes stuff. And there's obviously they do a lot of arrival videos and stuff. Bellingham's in there. I didn't see Palmer actually, so maybe Palmer has dropped out.
What did you guys think about Henderson getting the nod?
So I'm actually.
What a load of rubbish.
I don't know. Actually, I don't know. When he was playing in Saudi, I completely agreed with you. But he is playing for a top team. We are completely right.
Yeah, but he's not. Like, how old is he?
Oh, he
How
must
old
be.
is Henderson?
But the age is a fair point. The age would be a fair point. But the people that are saying, "Oh, he plays for Ajax, he shouldn't be playing for England," hang on, Ajax are a top team.
Yeah.
Let's not disrespect
He's also had tournament experience as well, and that's something that is that's worth its weight in gold, as people always say.
True. But then the thing is, I mean, his experience. If we was going into a tournament and he was playing throughout the qualifiers, say, and then we get to the tournament, he's been playing well. We've done really well with Ajax, say. Then I'll sit there and go, okay, maybe it is worth taking a player like him. But
yeah,
I don't like. He's not going to be part of that England setup when we go to the World Cup. I don't see it.
I don't know. I think he might. And the reason I say that is because Tuchel's not here to build the future of English football.
No,
Tuchel is here to win the World Cup in 2 years and go.
That's what he said, isn't it? Short term.
So,
I think that's what people forget that. I think they keep forgetting it's not a 3 or 4 year deal. Like he's he's been brought in basically to win us the World Cup.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Ethan Waneri or whatever, however, I can never say his name. The Arsenal winger, the youngster who's done really well this year, not even thought of being included in this squad, right? Because he's not gonna win the World Cup for England in the next 2 years. He's not ready. So Tuchel's not bothered. He is not bothered by it at all. Instead, Dominic Solanke's playing because Solanke is playing for a top team and he thinks he will win them a World Cup. I'm not saying I agree, but that's why. You know what I mean?
Team.
That's how Tuchel will see it.
They?
That's what I'm saying. If we thought it was bad under Southgate of top 6 item, right? Tuchel will be worse. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. If he wins us the World Cup, we can build a statue of him. I'm not bothered. Do you know what I mean? I don't care what his nationality is. I don't care what he sings when the national anthem's playing. If he wins the World Cup, he's good by me. Do what he wants. Yeah. I'm also quite pleased that Ollie Watkins is not in the England squad.
Wrap him in cotton wool, keep him fresh.
Wrap him up. I don't need to see Ollie Watkins score 2 against Albania at Wembley. That's fine. Doesn't bother me. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Solanke can have his time.
Run out. He's had his fame. Let him be.
Now, to be fair,
don't need to put him in any qualifiers. Just
Watkins took a knock in the last Villa game, so I think that's why he's not involved. And to be fair about Solanke, Watkins would be in ahead of Solanke at the moment, so that's probably why it's Solanke.
Do you think Jack Grealish has got a chance of breaking back into the England squad?
I think he needs to leave City for that to happen.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
Come home. Yeah.
Jack. Well, it's like Morgan Rogers and Eze have both been called up ahead of him. Like, that's how much of how many people are now ahead of him.
Well, he's been substandard for City when he has played. He's not played a lot for City. When he has played, he's been bloody average, you know. So
exactly,
It's amazing actually looking at Morgan Rogers in that England team because I mean he did get in the last squad, but he's been superb for like 12 months, and actually in the last sort of 3 months he's kind of gone off the boil a little bit. He's not quite been the player he was, and now he's in. He's definitely in. I'm like, yeah, brilliant. Right. But yeah, looking at the rest of the team, I mean, the only real surprise is probably Myles, Lewis-Skelly in there from Arsenal. That was a bit of a surprise. Gerald Quansah at Liverpool, a bit of a surprise. I mean, Quansah's not really starting for Liverpool very
No,
well.
that's a bit of a surprise. Yeah. Oh look, here we go. Here's the bias from Stuart.
Very biased. Don't try that.
Oh, what are you talking about? He's the best defender. He's second behind Van Dijk.
Yeah, but it's not like he's been on the cusp of not being in the squad. I think he was on like when he was in the last England squad, he was a part of it. So
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he's done a situation of like, yeah, he's gone for experience and he's gone for players that they know, but also maybe he's still probably got a couple of what 3 or 4 that he's gone, oh, I want to have a look at them. I mean, that's the only example you can describe why he's got 4 goalkeepers, because he's not quite
it's
sure.
baffling to me how Aaron Ramsdale is in this England squad is baffling to me.
Especially after that.
God.
The mistakes he did at the weekend.
It's like James Trafford, I understand as a young keeper, keep him in the system, have a good look at him. He's playing well for Burnley. He might not play, but fine, keep him in there. Aaron Ramsdale is at the bottom of the league. He's conceded more goals than he'll ever concede in a season than he has this year.
Did he pick him? Does anyone have any reason as to why he picked Aaron Ramsdale?
I can't.
He
Understand.
plays in the Premier League.
Could it be his system?
Like,
The way
System.
Tuchel plays, the way Tuchel plays. He wants to like he's not quite sure, because I'm assuming he plays at the back with like the goalkeepers that are good, good on his feet. I guess wouldn't he like?
Yeah, but
wants to.
Pickford's going to start both games.
yeah.
I don't know. No, I understand. Do you know genuinely what I think it would be? And this is going to sound completely bonkers to include him in the squad for this reason. It may be that Tuchel's got a coaching setup that requires 4 goalkeepers in the training. And it may be they work as 4 goalkeepers. That's the only thing I can think of as to why you'd specifically need 4.
So what you're saying is that Aaron Ramsdale is the Scott Carson of English football.
He doesn't play, he just turns up and he wins it.
So he's going to use Aaron Ramsdale as a training cone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I can think of. Good to see Marcus Rashford back in. Good to see Gordon in again and starting to become a starter for England. Jared Bowen is in. I don't think he was in originally, but I think he's in now. I've been added in. I'm not sure.
I think
but the rest
originally. I think
he was, yeah.
Also good to see Curtis Jones back in again. I thought he'd drop back out this squad. He was sort of in and out of squads, but it's good to see him back in for another squad. And yeah, I mean, the defence concerns me. Admittedly, we're playing Albania and Latvia, so it shouldn't. But
Go on.
I mean, you look at that 4 and you go, who's the best 4? Reece James right back, probably. At a push, and that worries me.
He's been playing midfield, doesn't he?
Probably Gahey and Stones.
Gahey and Stones isn't in the squad.
Or is he not Gahey and Maguire?
So, Maguire's not in the squad, so probably Gahey and Consta, probably the two at the back, arguably. But you might throw Levi Colwill in there from Chelsea. Dan Burn might play. Seems odd, but he might play. And then you look at your fullbacks and you go, right, as we mentioned, James right back. So left back, Lewis-Skelly or Livramento? Probably.
Trent make it in?
Trent's not in.
He's injured.
Yeah, Trent's injured, yeah. When you think about it, there is actually quite a few like England internationals who have featured the tournaments who are actually injured.
Yeah.
Like, who can't actually feature like we're talking about.
There is a fullback shortage as well that really worries me. I mean, Myles Lewis-Skelly is a right.
You say about fullback shortage. There's one player who can play in the middle as well, and has suddenly become interested in playing for England again. In Ben White.
Yeah, but we don't need right. Like, I'm on about left backs. We got Reece James, Trent.
But have you actually seen what some of the stuff he's been coming out with, saying like, I want to get back into England, and the amount of hate he's getting, I don't blame him. Fuck off. If you didn't want to get involved before, fuck off.
No, hang on, because clearly it wasn't to do with him wanting to play with England. No, it was to do with he had a personal beef with Gareth Southgate, who had a personal beef with him. So
Fair
he obviously knew he was never going to get picked because Gareth Southgate didn't like him.
Fair enough. But at the same time, he completely excluded himself from any picking. In my opinion,
he doesn't agree so much. He just logged off.
No, you should. I don't. Why? Why should you have then the benefit of ever playing for England again? You exclude yourself. Go. Because the amount of people in this country who would love to play for their country, and you just do that. No.
To be fair, though, Tuchel, I probably don't think he'd pick him anyway, because obviously he said 18 months. He probably doesn't need the hassle, so he's probably just gone, no, I just won't pick him, probably.
But even if I think there was no way Gareth Southgate was picking Ben White at all, and that was Gareth Southgate's choice, right? So Ben White's gone, well, I'll make it look like I'm not bothered to protect himself and his brand. So he's not just the guy that Gareth Southgate didn't like. And instead, he's focused on his football and played the best football of his career. If Gareth Southgate didn't have a personal issue with Ben White would have started at the last championships. With the form he was in, he would have started. Right? So clearly there was some personal issue. I don't think you can blame Ben White for now going, right, he's gone. I don't want to play for him, but I do want to play for my country. Arguably, and this is the thing that probably does go your way, rather than coming out and saying, I don't want to play for England, he should come out and go, I don't want to play for Gareth Southgate.
Yeah, that's what he should.
That causes all sorts of problems in itself as well.
Absolutely. And this is the thing. He's probably sat there and gone, I don't want to cause more issues with the squad.
Yeah.
I think you're being harsh on him to say you can't play for England ever again because you said no once. I think
when you've got the opportunity and it's given to you.
But he didn't have the opportunity. That's my point.
But at one point he did. And he withdrew from the squad. There were times he withdrew.
I'd love to know what's going on. I'd love to know what's gone on in that camp, because I guarantee you there's been a massive bust up, right? Yeah. And that's what's cool. And if you've got your boss, right, having a massive bust up with you, would you stick around just because it's England?
No.
I think you're being a bit. Look, I'll say this: I've got no chance of being picked for England, but I don't want to. Right? Okay.
Not with that attitude, Kyle. Goodness me, you never know.
Yeah, honestly. Come on, where's the optimism, Kyle?
You mentioned just to lean away from Ben White for a bit. You mentioned there about kind of the lack of left back option for England. I don't. Is Luke Shaw still exist? Does he still exist? Like, is he still alive? Honestly,
he exists in social media and TikToks. I think that's about it now.
Honestly, just retire, mate. You know, you're never coming back. You're never going to play another game of football again. Said. Such a shame as well. I mean, what a player for United as well, but just injured. Ever since he got that broken leg years ago under Van Gaal, it's just been constant issues with him. You know, it's not his fault really, but what a shame for England and United, obviously.
The lack of left backs, I would actually blame on Chelsea, by the way, because this was supposed to be Ben Chilwell's role, and they ruined Ben Chilwell, right?
Excuse me, he ruined himself.
But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. We're not that fussed about international, but we will touch on England next week, I'm sure.
We're not very heavy-hearted about it. Like, nothing about a 5-minute rant there.
Not as bad maybe this week, just because with the Premier League, there's not much happening in the Premier League. I think if it was a close title race between Arsenal and Liverpool, I think if the international break now would anger a lot of fans. I think it would put a complete stop at the action, you know. But I think the fact that everything's basically tied up, that an international break, people are like, yeah, well, so what? You know?
To be fair, as a Villa fan, not bothered by it. I hope the boys are having a good time in Dubai, because we've got 2 weeks off, so all good with me.
United, I'm happy for United as well. 2 wins in a row, 7 goals. Happy to have a nice little pause there. That's good. Go in.
Ooh, we beat Leicester.
Enjoy the 2 weeks. Yeah.
And then get back in the relegation dogfight again.
And then back into the relegation battle as soon as we come back. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm still pulling for United to go down. It would be honestly, it would be better.
No, we're above Tottenham. Tottenham were the ones getting relegated out.
Yeah, but United would be United going down would be a better moment than Aguero. I'm telling you now. It would be better.
With a similar goal as well,
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
By the way, before we move on, earlier you were saying about Southampton going down, and you looked at the fixtures and everything. Last week on the episode, we said about when Southampton go down, at what point which would happen first, Liverpool win the league or Southampton going down. And I said both on the same weekend. I looked it up, what the odds were. And at the time, with Paddy Power, it was 78 to 1.
Did you put a bet on?
On the same day. I put £1 on it. I put £1 on it. I put £1 on it. And I guarantee you now, Southampton will play on the Sunday. I'm like, oh, damn it.
I just like to clarify with a statement here that the RK Football Podcast doesn't approve of betting, but there are other bet makers out there as well if you wish to use them. Unless someone wants to sponsor us. If someone wants to sponsor us, we will promote gambling as much as we can.
Like big Ben. All out the bottom here.
Yeah, well, I'll have tops on with fucking all the thing on the advertising there.
We do not promote gambling. Anyway.
Anyway, let's end then with we like to end with a question. I don't think anyone's thought of one this week, so I'm going to throw one in there. It's International Week. What is the best international team you have seen in your lifetime?
For me, right off the bat, I would think it would be Brazil 2002. I don't think a lot beats that, to be honest. Possibly Spain in 2012.
I think that's where I'm going to go. Spain, because it's not 2012, it's Spain 2008,
2010, then 2012. I think they probably hit their peak in 2010, the World Cup, the Iniesta winner in the final with that midfield. I mean, yeah, probably think that was either Spain 2010 or 2002 Brazil for me.
Yeah.
Another one I would throw in there as well, because at the time I thought it was a very exciting team, was France 2018 when they won the World Cup, because they had Mbappe, they had Pogba, Samuel and Titi, they had Varane. Like all these fantastic players coming through, and they had Kante in the midfield. Like,
I mean, you should also throw in there that France team should have won the Euro in 2016 as well. So that should have been a 2016, 2018.
And they only missed out on penalties. Did they win? I forget. Did they lose the World Cup in 2022 on penalties, or?
Yeah,
I swear they did.
Yeah,
they did.
Yeah.
So it was only penalties that stopped them.
Yeah.
In the end, so yeah.
That
was a fantastic final.
Yeah. I gotta be honest. I was saying when the first thing that came to my mind was the Brazil side 2002. I mean, it's kind of a first World Cup I watched, and I've never seen a team that good. So it's the first one that comes to my mind. So I'll say Brazil 2002.
Stu, did you ever get tempted to have the haircut? I mean, Matt Thani nearly has it now.
No, the answer to that question is no. I did not.
That's a low blow. Fucking hell.
Hang on a minute. Where's the Sharpie?
Push the headphones up. Push the headphones up. Not the other way.
What would you say, Kyle?
I'd have gone with the Spain team. That's what came to my brain. But Spain. Brazil one's interesting, right? Because I feel like it's where everyone goes to. But then you go Ronaldo, Rivaldo. Ronaldinho was early in his team. Carlos and Cafu, sure. Yeah. So a lot of the other players, like, people don't remember them anymore. Like,
because they were that good, they were so iconic that I couldn't name that starting 11 to be honest. But I just think of those 4 or 5 key players.
Dida in goal.
Dida in goal, yeah. Oh, Dida. The best penalty saver in the world until Emi Martinez came around.
Yeah.
But yeah. But I think let us know in the comments down below or wherever else you're watching. Go on.
There is one, and each of us have been asked this question, and Dave answered it last week, and it really got on Stu's back. So we need to ask you now, Kyle.
Here we go. Oh God.
I'll leave it to you, Stu. You're better start bench sell for For Kyle.
Oh, what the Brazil was it? The Brazil one?
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. If you could, but was it start bench sale? Would it be? You got Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Ronaldinho. Who would you pick?
He's not quick.
It ain't that difficult.
Oh, well, we'll let Kyle go first.
To me, it's not that difficult.
No, it's not.
Start Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Easy, right? Bench Ronaldinho.
See?
Sell Rivaldo. Rivaldo's a terrific player, but
easy.
Do you know what I mean? We're talking about like a great player and a great player.
It's fine.
Are you really saying Rivaldo?
You said start Ronaldinho, right?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say Ronaldinho.
Whoa.
Wait a minute. So you're selling Ronaldo?
You're saying Rivaldo was a better player than Brazilian R9 Ronaldo?
Oh, you're saying that
if R9 Ronaldo didn't have that injury for 2 years, he would have gone down with Messi, Ronaldo, Pele, and Maradona.
He believes that Suarez is a better player than.
Oh, shut up!
I'm not joining your camp.
In fairness, though, Stuart can say anything. And he can say top of the league, mate. Piss off. I don't care.
To be fair, Stuart, right? You could say a lot of things, and you still do not have the worst opinion we've heard on this podcast. So, right? Because Luis Suarez is the best striker of all time. Honestly. Don't get me hot on this.
Oh, here's a quick one before we go. On the back of what you asked, Kyle, what's the worst international team you've ever seen? May I submit the 2016 England side that were beaten by Iceland? It was probably one of the worst I've ever seen.
Well, I mean, I'm guessing we're saying high-profile international team because the easy answer is San Marino.
You don't want to say San Marino every year. You know, I mean, that's quite obvious, isn't it? You know? But yeah, high-profile who just didn't hit. Like, what was the year when France just crashed out of the World Cup in the group stage?
2010, South Africa.
Was that 2010? Yeah. And when Germany went, well, I mean, they weren't really a bad.
Do you know what? I'd actually say you don't even look at the teams that got to the tournaments. You look at the teams that didn't qualify, and you have to go Wally with a Brolly, McLaren, and England 2008, don't you?
Yeah.
To not qualify for a European Championship when you're England that's up there as one of the worst. Italy recently did it as well. I don't think it qualified for the World Cup, I want to say.
I think it was the 2018 World Cup they didn't qualify for, or Euros, I can't remember. But yeah, they'd be up there as well. But
I think Holland have been huge underachievers for a long time.
Yeah.
They've been huge underachievers now.
They should have won that 2010 final against Spain.
Oh, my God.
The chances Robin had in that final, they should have won that match.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they tried to kill the Spain players.
Yeah, and Dion should have been so, I mean, yeah.
Wakato.
Young's just poor.
Exactly. I mean, I would say if you're talking underachievers, we'll throw Belgium in there as well, underachievers.
Yeah, they're the ultimate underachievers. Yeah.
Let's all think of a good international question for next week, because I feel like next week's going to be a harder one to fill a show with. So we'll do our best to throw some unpopular opinions and arguments, and me and Matt Thurney may not be friends at the end of it, but we will find out.
Well, okay. Well, one thing we can guarantee for sure is that as long as Carl is well, he'll be at the next show. But the next two after that, he won't be there.
Yeah, I think you've done enough.
What if I was to maybe put together a small international quiz as well? I don't know, Kyle, if you'd be quite ready for another.
Oh, I'm ready. I am ready, but I also
that's what the 2 weeks off has been. Prepare.
Revision.
We're getting a quiz episode in soon. Don't worry, it's coming. I can't. No, right. You've annoyed me again. Now we're gonna have to.
End it quick before he punches his screen.
Right. Let us know down below what you think is the best international team you've seen in your lifetime, the worst international team, or let's say disappointing international team in your lifetime. I mean, Stuart's had a longer lifetime than some of us, so I'm surprised he's gone Brazil.
Well, you think Rivaldo should be
You think Luis Suarez is the best striker in the world?
He is, that's a fact.
I
He
can't.
can just bring that up any time now. He's got just unlimited ammunition on that one.
He does, yeah.
This
It's
man
what,
quiz.
it's what happens when you record things, you know. Now it's got a recorded record of it, so you can't hide from it.
All time, it's there, trapped in
I'll
Edinburgh.
stand by it. Even when I'm an OAP, I'll be standing by that statement. Do not worry.
I'm glad you said it, because every time that you say something, it keeps coming back to bite you, so it doesn't matter. And with that, we will end the podcast. Yeah, let us know down below. We will see you hopefully next week. I'll hopefully be there. These lot will probably be here for sure. Honestly, they are machines. I hope I am in the top left corner here, or I've done an usher. Oh, I might have done an usher. All right. Well, see you guys later. See you next week.
Bye, guys.
Take care. See you later.